Welcome back to the Ed Show. Part 2 of our series tonight, Rising Tide, the Climate Crisis. We head to Miami-Dade County. These beach communities are already feeling the impact of climate change. The rising water table causes local roads to flood, even on sunny days. Scientists in the area say that if nothing is done, the worst is yet to come.
I hope you're listening, because this is so serious.
Climate change is happening.
We're really standing here at ground zero. There's just about nowhere else on the planet where there's more at risk from sea level rise so fast.
Because of global warming, we are facing an accelerating rise of sea level that is going to do severe inundation of our low-lying coastal areas, our barrier islands, low-lying communities like most of Southeast Florida, during this century and beyond.
Here in South Florida, you talk to any scientist or anybody who is working on climate change, and they use two words consistently: irreversible damage. The water's coming, and they can't do anything about it. This is going to happen.
This is going to happen. We have warmed the ocean too much. We're into it for centuries. The greenhouse gases that we're putting in the atmosphere are causing a warming, because they capture this back radiation of the sun.
It's man-made.
It's man-made. Since 1950 or so, we have been driving climate change.
How do we reverse it? Can we do anything?
We have to. We probably won't be able to prevent the first 6 or 10 feet of sea level rise. I think we're pretty well locked into that.
Beachfront communities in South Florida are looking to the Arctic to find out what the future holds for them.
We are experiencing the climate change every day, and you are about to see it tomorrow.
The warmed ocean is setting into motion, accelerating melt of Greenland and parts of the West Antarctic ice sheet. And I don't know how you turn this around.
Seen this world's fastest glacier lose an ice shelf the size of Manhattan Island while doubling in speed. This is a monumental change.
We're very close, probably within a decade, of having an ice-free Arctic Ocean in the summer. That's going to warm the northern part of Greenland as you warm that ocean. That is initiating the melt of permafrost, which is releasing more CO2 and more methane, which is another powerful greenhouse gas. The current U.S. government projections are with accelerating ice melt, are 4.1 to 6.6 feet by the end of the century. That's enough to do in all the barrier islands of the world, and that's enough to pretty well do in a place like Miami-Dade County. The 6.6 feet, that would be 2 feet by 2048. That's barely a mortgage cycle away.
The effects are already visible along the shoreline.
We have had about a foot of sea level rise in the last 85 years globally in South Florida. And so that has destabilized all the beaches and barrier islands everywhere.
Renderings created from climate data show a bleak outcome for iconic Ocean Drive in the coming centuries.
Out on the coast, we're starting to get high tide flooding. So when the moon goes full, the tides come up higher than they used to. Some re-engineering of islands and the channels have caused harder currents that are pushing water inland. Inland, we have a different situation. We have what's called a potential for riverine flooding. So as the waters come up on the coast, the Water Management District has had to raise the heights of our canals to keep the salt water from pushing inland and taking out our water supply. And so that's raised our water table.
If the water gets too high, then you start to lose grass flats, mangroves start to die, and these are intricate for the life cycle of so many different fish, crabs, and shrimp, and fish species. They need grass, they need mangroves, and if the water comes up too fast, the mangroves will die, and the grass will not be able to take sunlight and live.
While there's water everywhere, South Florida's drinking water is at risk. 90% of freshwater supply moves through the porous limestone aquifer.
We live on porous limestone here. Water goes right underneath the seawall, through the limestone, and back up on the other side. So there's no way to armor this.
We can't play the Netherlands. We can't play New Orleans. and sort of live below sea level. That would be unbelievable amount of giant pumps spewing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere to try to do that.
The Miami metro area is already home to more than 5 million people and growing.
We're building like there's no tomorrow. Unfortunately, there is at some point no tomorrow for down here. We will have to move on. We have a real catastrophe coming on our hands, and we need to plan for it.
Joining me tonight, Kerry Kennedy, president of the Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. Kerry, great to have you with us tonight.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Is climate change a human rights issue?
Absolutely. We see this all over the world, places like Bangladesh, places that have huge migrations because of climate change, peoples who live in island nations who are literally going underwater.
That story in South Florida, real estate folks aren't getting the message, construction isn't getting the message. I mean, they're acting like there's no, don't worry about tomorrow. What do you make of that? How do you turn that around?
Well, I think, you know, a show like yours is so very, very important. Organizing on college campuses like the No Tomorrow campaign, which is going on October 2nd this year across the country, and others. But you know, there's something each of us can do to impact climate change, but it's really important to remember that it's better to change your leader than your light bulb, and we just have to hold our political leaders accountable.
Yet there is a number of deniers in Washington. How can, unless you have a political commitment, can we address climate change?
I don't think it's possible unless all of us get out there and use our franchise and vote and demand change from our political leaders. You know, we didn't ratify the Kyoto Protocol in 1997 because the Republican control of the Congress, and we're facing the same thing today. So I think President Obama has been very courageous and shown leadership on this issue, but we need to, as a people, to band together and demand more.
Do you think this factors into 2016 in a big way? For instance, health care in 2008, the economy in 2012. Could this signature 2016 for a younger generation?
I think, you know, for the next generation, this is the issue, the impact of climate change and human rights on the next generation, because they're the ones who are really going to be feeling the impact. And we're the ones who are causing the problem.
All right. The Robert F. Kennedy Center for Justice and Human Rights. You've got an auction going on. It closes tomorrow. It's been a fabulous organization. You've done wonderful things around the globe. How's this year going?
Yeah, it's going well. You can go online right now and bid to have lunch with Tim Cook or see Taylor Swift or go to the Kennedy Center Honors or go to the Super Bowl or the World Series. Just about anything you want to do, you can do on that auction.
All for a good cause. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it tonight. You bet. Tomorrow in our series, local officials are taking charge in Miami to hold back the rising tide while their governor and senator have their heads in the sand about climate change. They are deniers. They don't believe there's the impact that we're talking about.